Good morning. We're gonna do an older hand today. This was at a 50 NL game. Um, so I had Ace Jack, Ace Jack on the button. We have Villain 2 opens to 3 big blind. He's playing pretty tight, aggressive. His raise first in stats 1 out of 6 in MP. His VPIP is 1 out of 10. You know, overall, I think he's probably playing similarly to what I would do. So, kind of a mid position raise. He might be a little bit wider, might be a little bit tighter. I think that gives us a decent starting point, and then it's on us. And I don't know what I was really playing back then, what ranges, but I believe like Ace Jack I would have called, Ace Queen I would have called, well, Ace Jack I would have called. I think Ace Queen I would have been raising here 3-bet. So I'm gonna say this is my calling range. Since this is my calling range now, so I call and we see a flop of Queen 7-7. So overall, you can see that ranges. I'm playing a tighter range. It's a calling range, but my range is probably also weaker, considerably weaker, because I didn't raise it. Our equities, however, on this flop are pretty darn close. So 49.8 versus 50.2. It's pretty close. Either of us could hit the queens. Having 2 sevens on the board really hurts chances that anyone has anything. So villain checks on this flop. What do I think he's going to be checking with? I think he could be checking with a lot of stuff. I think he can check with quads. I think he could check with full houses, three of a kind, over pairs. I think these are boards where I don't think I think with some of these hands he wants to be cautious. So like with quads, I don't know, maybe with quads he leads. With full house, I think he checks. I mean, both of these, I think with quads he leads because he's hoping that I have a queen. With a full house, though, when he has queens, he has all. I mean, all the cards are basically out there. I mean, what could I really have? I kind of think 3 of a kind bets here for value in hopes that I have a queen. Over pairs, though, I think are going to be checking, like aces and kings. You could still bet for value, but I kind of think we're slowing these down. I think it might play better to like check call, and then see the river, or check, and if it goes check, then kind of bet the turn, bet the river. Top pair, I think it could be checked. I think pocket pair below the top card could conceivably be checked. I think these small pocket pairs should probably be bet, and then that kind of leaves some of our other cards. So like over cards, I think are going to be checked. So we're going to say that's his checking range, and then it's on me. What do I bet? Now that he showed weakness, I think we should attack. I think our 2-card backdoor flushes should definitely be bet here. Maybe not, but that's what I'm going to bet. I do think quads are probably a check. I think we're going to probably check because if I mean, it's conceivable he has a queen. I think he can. I think if we bet, he can call with his queens. Maybe that's right. We're betting with quads, not with a full house. I think we're betting with 3 of a kind, over pair. I do think top pair we bet. I think this pocket pair below the board we bet. So maybe like 63% is what we might bet. So let's get these hands going. So this is my flop range. That would be 63.5%, and I have 8.84. Oops, hold on. I have 66 combos. And I did bet. I bet half pot, and he calls. So he had all those other stuff that he was checking as well, like ace highs. Maybe even these 2-card backdoor flush draws. I'm going to say that he calls with 2-card backdoor flush draws. hoping to hit. I mean, I could conceivably be bluffing here. I do think those are all the hands are going to be that are going to be calling. I think some of the others might be a check raise. We'll leave these in, and then we're gonna look at GTO. So this is 67.2%, 131 combos. Turns a 7 of diamonds, which doesn't really change anything. However, it tells us that quads is no longer out there. And it changes, any pair now makes a full house. So my range's equity is actually hurt by this 46.3 versus 53.7. Villain checks. What do I think he's going to check? So yeah, I guess he had a small chance that he had quads. Oh, as part of the backdoor hearts. No, so I didn't want those included. I should have X'd them. Full houses he has. I guess some of his full house, I think the sets are probably gonna sets could bet. I actually think he's probably just gonna check call with all of those. Probably just check 100%. And then it's on us, and I bet half pot. So what do I bet? And at this point, I think if we want some value and some bluffs, so yeah, I kind of think we're betting our quads here. I do think we're betting full house. We're kind of hoping that maybe he doesn't believe us, but I don't think we're going to be betting all of it. I think we're going to be betting our top pair. Our weak pair's probably just going to be a check at this point. And then we're going to be like betting these no made hands maybe. We're going to have to be betting some hands. So it's a queen. So I think maybe like king queen. So by having king jack, king 10, we kind of block king queen. Maybe even the no made hand. I think those are probably what I think we could bet. So that's my range, which is 62.5. I've got 40 combos, and then he calls. So now we can kind of say, okay, let's say he's gonna call with all of his hands, full house, and let's say he doesn't do any of those, overcards or anything like that. So it's just quads and full house. So he calls 48.9%, which means he would have folded 52%. So I still kind of like the bet if we were betting with some of our bluffs. So he calls river cards the 4 of diamonds, and you can see that I am behind because he is basically full house or better. And he checks, and I think the only thing we can do is check because we can't beat a full house. Now for us, I do think we're going to bet for value. We're going to bet our queens for value. The queen's full, and we're going to be betting quads for value. Everything else we're not. So you can see my nothing. I had ace jack. That was one of those. I put king jack, and then king jack's probably a little bit better to be in that bluffing range than ace jack. But the idea was we're going to have some hands in our bluffing range. And the hand goes check check. So let's check out GTO here. So first, do I think I made a mistake? Maybe. It's possibly on the flop. Maybe I should have just checked behind. I don't have any backdoor draws at all, backdoor straight or backdoor. I've got a very weak backdoor straight draw. I think on this board, it probably makes more sense that if he doesn't have a queen, I still have an ace. I've got ace high. So he checks. I can check behind on the turn. When that 7 comes, he checks, or if he bets, I probably will have to fold. And I think that's probably, I think I marked this as a flop mistake. So, already built the tree. Villain, if he follows GTO, has him betting a lot. Has him betting the flop a lot. Has him betting a lot of, his quads, full houses, 3 of a kind, overpairs, top pair, pocket pair below the top cards, weak pair. Has him betting a lot of hands. So let's say he plays GTO and he checks. Now what do? Now we are looking at betting 41%, checking 58%. Our ace jack, ace club, jack of spades is about 50-50, 50% bets, 50% value, or 50% checks. I think we're checking, or we're betting, just kind of be aggressive. We do have ace high, so I think that's appropriate. I think so far, based on if he's playing GTO, I think my play is going to be okay. And then villain's going to be, now once he check calls. So then I didn't check. I bet. So I bet, and now let's see here. Villain calls. So you can see he's calling, not raising. He's calling with top pair. He's calling with pocket pair below the top pair. He's calling with some ace highs, some backdoor flush draws. So all right, so he checked. I bet he calls. Then he's gonna check again, and it looks like he's checking 100%. Now it looks like we are supposed to be betting 56% of the time, and you can see that we are betting our queens. All right, queens full. We're betting some ace jack suited hands. These are, I'm sure, for bluffs. Ace 10 suited, ace 10 of diamonds we would be betting. Quads we're betting. I think these 4s are kind of interesting. Betting 4s. Betting 4s, but we're not betting 8s or 9s. And we're betting 10s. So here it says that we're supposed to check with ace jack. This is yep. Most of the time we are supposed to check with our hand. So if it's GTO, we made the mistake here. I bet, and then he calls, and then this hand was a 4 diamonds. Let's get that. So then he basically is checking 100% of the time, and we're going to be betting our queens. Yeah, we've got quads, we've got top pair, like the queen's full, pocket pair below the top. Some of our 10s are checking, but we're betting 10s. All the weak pairs we're checking, so betting for value. We're mostly betting for value here. All right, so let's see. Let's change it up. We have him betting a whole lot, and what happens if he checks all of his queens? Let's include the queens. He should be betting them, but I think a lot of players will slow play those. Say he checks his 7s, because again, a lot of players will check with those. Let's leave that. So we'll run the solver and come back. All right, so we have his check, which includes the queens and 7s, and then knowing that he can do that, it looks like everything now becomes a check for us, because of the possibility that he can slow play. So if we think that's what he's going to be checking, then we're gonna have to check. and I didn't. I bet. Made the mistake of betting. So let's say, let's fix this. Let's say I bet 100% because he checked, and see where that goes. All right, run it and we'll come back. All right, so we had the check. Whoops, we had the check, and then we bet 100%. Now it looks like villain is supposed to be raising most of the time and folding the rest. I mean, he shouldn't have any calls whatsoever in his range, but let's go ahead and fix that. So let's say he calls with all the queens. Let's say he calls with all of those small ones. Let's say he calls with all those pocket pairs with his trip sevens. Let's say he even calls with these small pocket pairs. So he calls with those, and then let's run it. And I actually think he would be folding a lot of those. All right, come back. All right, we are back. So I bet, and now we have him calling 62% of the time, and then we have, you know, villain should be betting most of the time, and he doesn't. So, question is, what do we do? So when he checks that 1%, now we're checking behind mostly. So I think what I'm gathering from all of this is that if we think villain really is going to be slow playing these queens and sevens, which is entirely possible, then we should probably be checking. I think versus the unknowns, you know, when he takes his first line of checking on the flop, I mean, it's possible that he just doesn't have anything. He's got a hand like ace king, ace jack, maybe a hand like 10 jack. It's possible that he's going to be check calling at that point, or checking at least. But would he really call on a board like this? I don't know. I think 10 jack folds. I think ace king might call once, but then once that 7 hits, I just have a hard time believing it. So I kind of feel like at this point, once he makes that initial call, it's probably I think we're going to have to give up on our hand. I don't think he's going to be folding. I think his hand's going to be full of strength. So I think we're going to stop the GTO analysis because I think it's just kind of playing out. The more likely he has these big hands, a full house, the quads, the more likely that the stronger it is for us to be checking with our ace jack. So what did he show? This was a hand that went to showdown. He shows king queen, so that is entirely within the range. We didn't have him starting with the king queen, but it's consistent with how he plays with that queens full of sevens. So slow playing it. All right, hopefully you enjoy this. If you did, look tomorrow for another.